Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Voice of Mississauga. I am your host Ashish, and today we are diving into an incredibly important topic, recognizing early signs of neurodivergence and resources for parents. Neurodivergence is a subject that touches many families, yet it often goes undiscussed or misunderstood. Our goal today is to shed light on this topic, share valuable insights, and provide resources to help parents and caregivers navigate this journey. I am thrilled to have two distinguished guests with us today, Savita and Avinash, who bring a wealth of experience and knowledge in this field. They have not only been instrumental in supporting neurodivergent individuals, but have also been integral parts of Voice of Mississauga. As we expand our focus to include critical topics like this alongside our ongoing citizenship engagement activities. Savita and Avinash, thank you for joining us today. To start off, could you share a bit about your personal and professional experiences with neurodivergence and what inspired you to be a part of Voice of Mississauga? Savita.
I'm a licensed paralegal who's been practicing in Mississauga. So being in the legal field, I have been doing a lot of research and everything, but another set of what interested me was I am a mother of a autistic kid. So when I was going through this challenge, Ashish, I did a lot of research, and I went through a process of accepting it to providing resource, and it's a process which took me through the whole whole journey. And at that point, I realized I should be helping the other parents as well with what knowledge I have about these resources available and how that's going to help these kids who are our future to be successful in their life. And that is what inspired me to become Voice of Mississauga and voice of these kids and these parents.
Thanks a lot, Savita. Avinash.
Thanks, Ashish. It feels really wonderful to be a part of this podcast and Voice of Mississauga to share my points of view. So I grew up most of my life, as I would say, fighting against the current, swimming against the current. My neurodivergence went undiagnosed for the longest time, and it resulted in a lot of difficult situations for me throughout my life. For the longest time, I could not figure out what is it that was getting in my way until it turned out the way it is today, that my neurodivergence was diagnosed. Along the way, in order to help myself, I picked up the profession of life coaching, because life coaching was something that promised me a way in spite of my challenges, right? It has been a long-standing partner of mine. And along the way, some other things that have helped me are exercise, meditation, and one attitude that I recommend for everyone, which is to have the fun switch turned on in your brain all the time. I find that is the best antidote, or at least the best starting point for where we are. So this is a little bit about my undiagnosed neurodivergence, how that diagnosis came forward, the things that helped me. And because this is a subject that is very dear to me, I see a lot of people struggling with the same challenges that I struggled with, which is why I move forward and share ways and resources to help them out. And I try my best to do it in a fun and lighthearted way.
Thanks both. I know it's a very sensitive topic and very important, and I hope we can bring in some insights that could be helpful. Just to start with, in a way, that what are some signs parents should look out that might indicate a neurodivergence in their children? Savita, since you have witnessed this firsthand, maybe you can throw some light on this.
Yeah, sure. So there are, whenever you go to a couple of websites, and even some of the doctors would say those red flags, but I would like to share my personal experience of what the red flags I found in my kid. So the first thing you would notice, when the kid is not talking, there are talking in the sense there are certain milestones which is already there, that the kid by 16 months they have to talk at least small sentences. So these are the things which you need to kind of keep a watch on your kid as to what are these red flags. And the first red flag is your kid not talking as per the age. So that is the first thing. And the second thing is eye contact. That was the biggest thing, in fact, for my kid, that I just noticed that she was not giving that much of eye contact. And I found the kid to be very aloof. So that's another major red flag, when normally kids are more, they like to be with everyone in the room, they try to participate in their own way. But when your kid is not doing that and she's only trying to be aloof, that's another red flag. So these are the basic red flags which I found in my kid, and that's what made me realize that, there's something wrong. And that's when I approached the pediatrician with all these red flags, and that's how it went on.
How about you, Lornidash?
Thank you. This is a really wonderful question, and I can relate to it both from the point of view of my life and from the point of view of my own children now, my son. Right. So I am no medical expert, but I have found out that ADHD is something that has a high probability of being passed on genetically from generation to generation. Right. So I see one of the dialogues that I recall the most from my childhood was, if only he would work a little harder, if only he would try a little harder. I wish I could go back in time and tell them that I am actually maxed out right now. I'm going to all my pedal to the metal. I can't work any harder, right? So if you find yourself saying that if only he would overcome his laziness a little bit, or if he would just do that much more, and you say that consistently, that is a short way to indication that something's going on. And I noticed the same thing with my son as well. The second thing is asking for breaks continuously with 15 minutes of work, 20 minutes of work. If the child suddenly says, "Oh, I need a break, I need to go out and do something else," it does. Now I realize that it's not that the child is bored of studying or the child does not want to study. It's not a behavior problem. The child's brain has been working so hard in this entire duration that it wants to do something different. It wants to. So ADHD is a type of neurodivergence that is interest-based, right? And interest tends to run out. Now, in most children, it runs out after 15-20 minutes of homework. So they want to do something that is more interesting than that. And if you find this happening consistently, then that's another indication that there might be some neurodivergence involved. The third is, Savita has already touched a little bit upon that, but I'd like to put my flavor of my experience, is the communication challenges. Yes, I remember eye contact being particularly challenging and at some points painful. Like the person in front is speaking something to me, and I am thinking, should I look at the right eye or the left eye or in between, or maybe I just look at the nose and I miss what the person is saying completely. Right? So so that's the thing about eye contact thing. I also remember a lot of time wanting to be left alone by myself. To my parents and to my peers, it appeared that I was aloof and that I didn't care about things. What they didn't realize was that I had my 100% attention on everything going on. It's a good way to spy on people. So just remember that if you find the child being aloof and wanting to be kept alone, it's not that the child is not paying attention. The child is probably overwhelmed with the noises, the smells, and so many things happening. So the brain is shut down partially, right? But the listening might be open in some cases. So I think these are the three.
And just for the benefit of our listeners, if we can just define ADHD, what exactly, because let them also understand what is ADHD, to be precise.
Yeah, this is a wonderful opportunity to answer this question. So I'd like to clear it once and for all. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. It's a completely wrong name because there is no deficit of attention. There is too much attention, right? And an inability to control where that attention goes, right? So that's why we may be heading out the door, but suddenly remember to clean the bathroom, and you might start doing that, right? So there's no shortage of attention. There's a challenge of where to put that attention. It's a highly interest-based thing that happens. On the negative side, one of the things that happens is that in people with ADHD, the brain is chronically starved of dopamine, right? Dopamine is the hormone that makes us want to do things. So it's but natural that we go to the thing that gives us the dopamine. If it's not studying, then my brain is constantly on the hunt to find out what that next thing is. And that's where the word hyperactivity comes from. But it's not, it might appear as hyperactivity, but it's just the brain trying to make itself feel a little better. So I hope this gives some indication.
No, absolutely, Avinash.
And Ashish, just one more I think we missed out about the red flag is this is one of the most important red flag, which is the repetitive behaviors. A lot of time these kids have certain behavior which they keep repeating. I mean, kids do certain things, but these kids specifically like lining up of toys. There's a particular way they line up toys. So these are the biggest red flag which every parent should watch out for. And if they're seeing the kid is doing that on a daily basis or every other time, which means that there's some indication that there's something wrong and they have to get that to the attention of the pediatrician or family doctor.
So that brings to the next question, Savita, that what is or what would be one thing that one can do if you as a parent suspect that your child might be neurodivergent? What should be the first step, or what should ideally you do then?
So Ashish, before I step into that, what should I as a parent, initially as a parent it is very difficult to accept the fact that there's something wrong with your kid, right? I mean, that's the first negative thing which comes to your mind, saying that there's something wrong. My kid is not normal. This is a very natural thing, I would say, for every parent. They go through this and this negativity do come in. But what I'm trying to say is, and I've also been there, but I tried to make it positive, saying that this is not about me, that my kid is not normal. It's about my kid, for that kid to have a better future. So what's the first thing you need to do? Bring that to the attention of your pediatrician or family doctor. And another thing I would like to add this, which I got to know when I came here, there's someone called as a behavior pediatrician as well, apart from the normal pediatrician. So these behavior pediatrician will actually do the initial diagnosis, and I mean, it's not exactly a diagnosis. They will just assess the kid and say what is a therapy or what is a first starting initial this thing for such kids. Like whether you have to first thing for my kid, I can say first thing the behavior pediatrician said that you have to first start the speech therapy. So in fact, when I got the diagnosis for my kid, she'd already started all the therapy what was required. So that's very important as a parent. And I know it is difficult, but it's an important step for you to say, this is for my kid I'm doing, and I better get this thing, started, all the therapy started at an early age.
Minash.
Thank you. Shoot, what was the question?
I'm so sorry. No, for your right. No, absolutely, and that's completely fine. The question was all about that. What should be the first thing to do?
Yeah. No. Okay. So in my experience, it's been a combination of two things that have given results. In both the cases, it has started with our family doctor, a general physician. So I know that this comment might stir up some controversy because there's a lot of people who are for medication and against medication, especially when we look at stimulant medication for children. We need to take that with a certain amount of precaution, and rightly so, right? However, I would suggest that even if we stop it later on, it's a good starting point, right? I feel that the medication creates a suitable environment in the mind, in the brain, to make better decisions. So at least for the time being, the first step is to consult the general physician, right? It may lead to subsequent referrals to specialists, but then it always starts with the general physician. This has worked in beautiful combination with life coaching. I find life coaching to be wonderful because it really suits my neurodivergence. I don't like going into the past and talking about why I have a problem, which is what I find therapy to be about. Why is it a problem? Why is it such a big problem? That's what interesting to me. I want to find solutions. I want to keep my life moving forward, and coaching helps me do that. It's always about the next step, right? How do I get that fitness and that weight loss discipline in place? How do I get my sleep discipline in place? I'm not interested in why not sleeping well is a problem. I want to sleep well. So life coaching helps me to do that. I think the combination of these two things works really well. And starting point would be the GP.
Yeah, honestly, listening to you both, I believe the very first starting point, though it might be easier to say, it would be the acceptance, right? And while we have all been speaking about it, and Savita, we know each other for long, I believe that was one thing you have always vouched for, that first thing is about accepting it. I have, in my personal capacity, come across people who it's difficult, right, to accept that, okay, fine, I need to go an additional mile to take my kid for an assessment or for something else. So I believe that could be starting internally, and then definitely we could go for the resources as you people guide. So now, yeah, sure.
Share something. It was something immediately popped into mind the moment you said that. So I want our listeners to understand the whole neurodivergence thing in a slightly different perspective, right? We as humans have been in this technology age since about 30 years, and about the industrial age since about 150, 200 years. Before that was the whole historical medieval ages and all that. But if you see our brain, the wiring is still very oriented for when we were living in caves and trees, right? It's the change in our world around us has been too fast for our brains to adapt. And fortunately or unfortunately, the world that is created around has been created by neurotypical people. So it's but natural that certain people would not find it a comfortable place to be. Now, on your point of acceptance, to our listeners, just note that if this were a time maybe 10,000 years ago, the neurodivergent people would be the one who would be keeping the fire on all night. They would be keeping a watch on the pride, right? The neurodivergent people would be the first ones, because it's interest driven and they want to eat something specific. They will be the first ones to go and find that. The neurodivergent folks with their keen sense of hearing and the sense of smell would have been excellent hunter-gatherers, right? And even though some aspects of communication are bad in today's world, I believe that we would have made great storytellers as well. So we all have a place, just not in today's world because it has changed at a very fast pace. So I hope that 30,000 years of brain wiring overlaps or overshadows 30 years of technological development. We all have a place on this world.
Oh, absolutely. Savita, one thing we have always discussed, and definitely we'll delve deep into this in the further channels, that there are resources available, right? And I felt that a lot of parents and individuals are not aware of those kind of resources which are available. So at an overview level, if you can share some thoughts on what at a school level or at a board level or at other medical level, what are the kind of resources one can at least try to aim for?
Yeah, sure, Ashish. So basically for the school level, let me just talk about the school level, and what I faced initially was there are resources like education assistant who's there with your kid throughout her school time, but that they can only provide if you have a diagnosis. So that is the first step for you. So you might feel, why am I doing this? But you got to understand, only if you do that is when the government and the school system will be able to help you. Because without a diagnosis and based on just some symptoms, they'll not be able to help you. And that's the first step. So get the diagnosis so that you can get, one is the help in school, the other one is the Ontario Autism Funding Program, where you will get funding from the government for all your therapy. But there is a wait list, Ashish, for that. But I would just say that is the reason you have to get the diagnosis at the earliest, so that you're on that wait list, so you will get the funding on time for your kid for all the therapies and everything. And regarding the school would like to work along with you. You got to understand, the kid is there in school for 8 hours, but the rest of the time the kid is with you. So if there are certain things which you're following at home, you need to let the school know that you're doing this and this works, and the school will adapt the same thing. And in turn, if the school is doing something which is actually working for them, you can adapt that at home as well, because such kids need consistency throughout. So this is very important for all the parents. Don't treat a school or a education system or a government as your enemies. You have to work along with them, because you got to understand they also need to do good for the kid, and you also need the same thing, and ultimately the kid is getting a better future. So that is what I learned. I mean, believe me, I was also once upon a time, I was also complaining about the system. But then I realized, when I started working along with the school, I saw some kind of positive response from them. So I realized, okay, they're also new to this thing. So there's nothing wrong for us to work together. And that's the reason I started, every other day I talk to there's a special ed teacher in school available for you. And every kid will have an IEP, which is an individual education plan in place. And there are some problem behavior for the kid. There is a safety plan in. So the school has everything. But as parents, you need to know what they are ask questions to the school, ask questions to the board, saying what's available for my kid. When you go to the general physician to get your kid for a regular checkup, ask questions. That's the best way for you to get all these, information about the resources. And there's, believe me, quite a lot of resources available for such kids.
That's really good to know. Means definitely for our viewers, we will have a series of discussions on this, where we'll take up individual topics and we'll go much deeper into it. What are the school, and if there are any challenges, are they short-staffed, or what is a gap in communication? We'll further get deep into that in our series of podcasts related to this. Now, just as a concluding remark, or what would be your final thoughts on this, and how do you feel that we should take it forward with Voice of Mississauga and yourself? Avinash.
Yes. So what I'd like to say in response to that is, one of my primary mission or goal, or what drives me, is to change the conversation around mental health. For instance, a few months back, my own son was hesitating to use the word mental health at home. Right? I want to completely change this. In fact, that incident made me make this decision. And I want to see people talking about, hey, how's your mental health? The same way as they ask, how was your day today?
Yeah.
Right? How are you doing? I want families to do that, because these resources, therapies, coaches, all of it is available. I still believe it starts at home. It starts with the parents, right? So, to that end, I see a lot of events happening, right? Now, because we do, my personal way of doing things is in a fun and in a lighthearted way. We must do a lot of community events involving a lot of play, a lot of fun, a lot of lightheartedness. The moment that changes, it changes the environment in our mind, and we look at the challenges in a slightly different way. So I think that would be a great starting point. And you can definitely expect Voice of Mississauga to take this up very strongly, and we definitely want to do a lot of great things in this regard.
Sure. Savita.
So, Ashish, from the beginning, you notice that we've been using the word neurodivergent. The main reason being, when you're trying to there is a human right, there's a protected ground under human right which says disability. The word disability is kind of tending towards a negative. That's what I realized. I felt when you're saying disability, you're saying this person is not able to do something. But what our perspective of this using the neurodiversity or neurodivergent is, when you say neurodivergent, it means these kids are, special in a way that they have good ability, right? So this is what we are trying to build that positiveness towards autism or ADHD, all these spectrum, because the reason being, we don't want people to be thinking that as a social taboo and not come forward. So that's the reason we are being so vocal about this, mainly because this is a kid you're talking about. It's not you personally as parent. It has nothing to do with you. It's your kid. You have to build a better future for the kid. So you better be the voice of the kid. And that's the reason we would like to bring this up in Voice of Mississauga. But as the name suggests, it's voice of the kid.
Absolutely. And the sensitivity and the depth of the topic cannot be definitely covered in one podcast or one thing. We will continue. We will work together, and we'll see. As you suggested, Avinash, maybe we can also look into some kind of events and some kind of sessions on this. And thank you both, Savita and Avinash, for sharing your invaluable thoughts. Your stories and advice do inspire, and it also brings us that, okay, fine, we need to do multiple discussions on this, bringing in more experts, medical experts, maybe people from the board, from the school, or from the government who is managing into these affairs, and conduct multiple series of discussions on this, get some panel discussions, create some events. And under Voice of Mississauga, we will deal with a lot of such sensitive topics. We'll bring in such series of podcasts with people like you and many others. And so for our viewers, we will continue to do so. And thank you everyone for listening. Your support means a lot. Let's keep the conversations on. And thanks Avinash and Savita again for sharing your insights, sharing your journey, and giving us a platform that we can take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.